I hope Jake's okay because the whole debate he's basically been spurging and squirming like something's wrong over there. He's got Parkinson's or what's going on, but I hope he's okay. I didn't mean to hurt him so bad or hurt his feelings. I love you, Jake, man. Uh, yeah, I think that first of all, as I pointed out, when he asked me about Ibn Taymiyyah, I was clearly trying to remember exactly what his position was from the Suleiman book, and I specifically said that he allows for created causation. Jake then tried to make me sound like I was saying that he was an occasionalist. I never said that, so that was a complete dishonest lie. I said that he believes that there's real causation in the world, but he also thinks that God can intervene and do miracles. So that was a straight up lie. Just looking for anything, grasping at straws because he performed so badly. It's probably why he had to mute or take off his camera. I don't know if he's running the bathroom to take a comfort break or what's going on. But yeah, I think if we review this debate, we'll notice that the central issues that were in question, two ways of accounting for unity and multiplicity, as I pointed out in my opening statement, not a question of who's the true monotheist versus the polytheist, the way that Jake wanted to characterize the debate. Because if you go watch, for example, Jake's debate with Dr. Bo Branson or his debate with Dr. Khalil, you'll notice that Jake consistently had no real way to answer for the actual questions of how we account for multiplicity and unity in his conception of the attributes and the essence. I specifically gave numerous arguments in the opening statement that Jake never got anywhere near touching. He says, I didn't make any arguments. I did. I made countless arguments throughout that opening statement. I specifically pointed out that not that Jake only counts in one way. I said that when he uses the terminology of inseparability, that he's using the idea of counting by division. And it's simply saying that if you say, for example, that the attributes are undivided or that the essence is one and undivided, that's also counting by division. That's how the ancient and medieval world typically thought, unless they were dealing with objects of first order imposition or objects of second order imposition. Again, I addressed those disputes when I covered that topic. So most of the stuff that Jake has pointed to, I did address. He just then came on and said, he never addressed nothing I said. No, I did address everything that you said. Just most of what I addressed, you just weren't familiar with, or you didn't know what these topics were. Now, again, in the topic of the universal, for us as universals get discussed amongst the Cappadocians and then post-Chalcedon, it becomes more and more specified and more clarified. So if you just ask me something like, is God's essence a universal? It really depends on what time frame we're talking about. But post-Cappadocians, post-Chalcedon and so forth, we don't usually see the idea of a universal itself in the Platonic sense being attributed to the divine essence. It's simply said to be something common. So we can say that, yeah, the divine essence is common, but universals take on a specific category of a created thing, especially in St. Maximus. Maximus, for example, argues that universals can perish, and this is in the Tolleson dissertation. Well, obviously, universals aren't the divine essence because the divine essence can't perish. And if universals can perish, then universals are created things. Now, universals are patterned on things in the divine mind. We would call those the divine ideas, but that's a different topic. But suffice to say, it's again another kind of equivocation with how the Cappadocians use the term common or universal versus the way that it's used by the Talmud of St. John of Damascus in a more precise way about created realities. So the universals dispute, however, is very important for this debate because, as we saw, Jake's denial of universals results in a lot of problems for accounting for things like meaning and identity over time. That's why I kept stressing how would Jake understand various texts of the Quran. And you'll notice when we got into the nitty gritty of the epistemology, Jake completely collapsed. Jake went in circles. He was lost. He didn't know what was going on, where he was even at. He thought that you could say that, well, some things are self-evident. What you noticed when I first asked him, he didn't want to say it was self-evident. About a minute or two later, yeah, these are self-evident truths. But then when I asked him about the criterion problem, which is how do we know the self-evident versus the non-self-evident, he again appealed to a self-referential thing because we know because of the way that we go about doing it. Yeah, but that doesn't justify the claim. And he knows that it doesn't. And that's why he went deeper into deflecting over into transcendental argumentation and justification. And he didn't know what a metalogical argument was, even though he admits that FDA was making a metalogical argumentation in the paper. The paper is just arguing that the transcendental argument isn't justified in the exact same way that first order types of beliefs are justified. So, and this is just to say that different things are argued for in different ways. If you watch my Matt Dillahunty debate, this becomes a very central point of dispute between us, where Matt thinks that everything is argued for in one way. Likewise, that very low tier quality of debate that Jake shares with Matt Dillahunty, they both just seem to think that words mean one thing. All arguments are argued in the same way. Justification happens in one way. Different types of things are proven and argued for in different ways. Different types of things are counted in different ways. So I made this very clear. Again, Jake didn't get any of that, and everything had to be smushed down and reduced into one simple, one-dimensional ways of understanding everything throughout this debate. So I think that if people paid attention, especially when we got to the notion of hand, foot, the bodily properties that are ascribed to Allah in his school, in his tradition, Jake couldn't tell us what an uncreated foot is that doesn't bear similarity to foot, except that it's similar in the case of functionality of creating. Okay, but the creating that you talked about, or the piece of paper that you referred to, or this or that, those are other created things. And so the created things that you keep appealing to never match up or touch upon the uncreated thing, which the Quran says is unlike, right? Allah is absolutely unlike creatures. What's that?
50 seconds.
So the argument is not that Jake believes or Ibn Taymiyyah believes that there's no way to have positive predication. The argument is that they contradict. And Suleiman points out numerous places where actually he contradicts. So Jake says, oh, he didn't read it. I was just waiting for a good book on this topic to have a good debate. So Jake's trying to make it like I was, avoiding something or whatever. No. I just wanted to have a good debate. And I went to the trouble of reading this 400-page book for you to have a good discussion and a good debate. And again, Suleiman, page 331, notes that he absolutely contradicts himself on this point. He also contradicts on this notion of what the divine perfections are, right? And so when we're told that we are supposed to know what a hand is, every Jew or Christian in the 7th or 8th century would know what a hand is by empirically based hands.
Time.
Divinity raises the humanity in Christ through theosis, and that's exactly what we experience.